There's a whole lot of benefit we can derive from intercropping as an oil palm farmer. One of such benefits is that intercropping our oil palm farm, particularly at the initial stage of the plantation, helps us to bring some kind of income for ourselves before the oil palm starts fruiting. Another benefit is that it helps plantation owners to control weed on their farm, to control erosion, and so many other agronomic practices. But a whole lot of plantation owners are doing intercropping in the wrong way, and this can have a negative impact on their overall yield with their focus crop, which is the oil palm crop, and create some kind of problem for them in the nearest future. And that is why on today's episode, I want us to look at the guidelines and the principle guiding intercropping in oil palm farming. Without wasting much of your time, this channel is dedicated to promote sustainable and profitable agriculture. Let's get to business. So today's episode, we are going to be looking at general rule guiding intercropping in oil palm farming. And we are going to be looking at the three phases of intercropping in oil palm farming. First thing first, the number one general rule is that under no circumstance should we bring in another tree crop to serve as an intercrop in an oil palm plantation. And what I mean by this is that you bringing in crops like cocoa, crops like cashew, crops like coconut, crops like raffia, or any tree crops, and you want to intercrop those kind of tree crop on the same land you want to use as an oil palm tree, as an oil palm plantation. This will be detrimental to you because the intercropping space in an oil palm farm is the interrow spacing you want to use. So when you bring in any tree crop, you are going to be creating obstruction for yourself later in the future when the oil palm tree reach their full production capacity. You will not be able to drive through your farm. You will not be able to drive your pickup or your tipper to pick bunches, and it will create a whole lot of obstruction for yourself. And if care is not taken, this one will lead to a very, very disastrous competition between your oil palm, which is your focus crop, and the crop you are planting. So that is number one. The number two general rule we have to be conversant with is that no close planting. So you should not, because you want to do intercropping and you just want to cover everywhere up, you have to give at least 1 to 2 meters away from the oil palm before you can plant any other thing. Because when you do that, when you do close marking, there will be competition for nutrients. There will be overshading, and any pest that is affecting your intercrop will also be transferred to your oil palm crop, oil palm tree. So you have to be very, very conversant. Lastly but not the least, the third general rule guiding intercropping in oil palm farming is that there should be a separate fertilization plan for anything you are doing with intercropping. So for example now, as you are applying your fertilizer to the oil palm crop, you also apply fertilizer to whatsoever you are planting as an intercrop, so as for every one of them to be on their own. So these are the general rules we have to be at the back of our mind whenever we are doing intercropping in oil palm farming. Now, we are looking at the first phase. The first phase of intercropping in oil palm farming is the first year and the second year of intercropping. Now, before I explain this, intercropping in oil palm farming can go on from the first year till about 7 to 8 years. After that, you will not be able to do intercropping again, because at that time, your tree will have formed a full canopy, and underneath, it will be very, very difficult for you to plant crop that will mature and yield very well for you, except in some few cases whereby you can introduce some shade-loving crops. So the first phase is the first year and the second year of your oil palm plantation. And at this stage, what we usually advise, what is advised is that you try as much as possible to plant legumes or cover crops or crops that will not grow taller than 1 meter. So in this kind of situation, crops that are usually suggested are soya bean, cowpea, uh, chili, pineapple, um, melon, and sweet potato, and so many other like that, etc. So at this stage, you should try as much as possible at all costs to guide against anything that will cause shading or competition, because at this stage your oil palm is still trying to get its rooting system, is still trying to come up. So you don't want to jam pack everywhere and cause shading that will retard the growth of your oil palm tree. That is that about the first thing. By the second phase covers from the third year to the 7th or the 8th years of your plantation. And at this place, you can introduce so many other things. You can bring in crops like cereals, you can bring in tuber crops, you can bring in a whole lot of things. Do you get it? Because at this place, your oil palm tree, they are becoming a full-blown tree on their own. So, but you have to be still mindful of your healthy spacing. You have to still maintain about 1 to 2 meter space away. Do you get it? Before you can do anything. But at this stage, you can either continue with your cover crop or you can decide to bring in cereals uh, like maize, like maize. You can bring tubers like cassava and etc. So at the first phase, we don't advise cassava during the first or the second year, because cassava have the tendency of inviting rodents to your farm. And at that point, if rodents invade your farm, it will be easier for them to feed on your oil palm seedling because they are still young. So the third phase is when your plantation has reached that 7 years time frame. At that point, what it will be honorable for you to do is to stop intercropping. Because at that time your trees are mature, they are full blown into the production cycle, so there will be a whole lot of movement around, so you will not be needing obstruction. You get it? And also the environment in your plantation will not be suitable for intercropping again, except for some shade loving crops, which are very, very few. So at this point, we advise you to stop intercropping and instead you replace it with leguminous cover crops or leguminous grass. In some big plantations, what those plantations do is that at this stage, they will just introduce leguminous grass and you will see everywhere will be covered. Now, everywhere will be covered with those grass and it will help them to prevent weed. Do you get it? And leguminous grass have one characteristic. They have nitrogen fixing ability. So they will also help you to fix nitrogen into your soil, which will serve as a purpose supplying your oil palm tree with nitrogen. Or the last thing you can also do is to start a small ranch on your own. It's one of the ways by which you can use to diversify your income as an oil palm farmer, by starting a ranch on your farm at this stage, because you can actually do some rotational grazing with your cows and they will feed on the weed under your trees and they will also fertilize the land for you by dropping their feces. So it's a kind of a symbiosis relationship. With this, I've come to the end of today's episode, and I hope you must have gotten value one way or the other from today's episode. If you are watching for the first time, this channel is dedicated to promote sustainable and profitable agriculture. Everything we do on this channel revolve around agriculture, agribusiness, and farming. Kindly click on the subscribe button, share this video with your friends so that we can further pass the message across. So before I go, I would like to let you know again that my book, the best-selling oil palm farming book, How to Build Generational Wealth Through Oil Palm Farming in Nigeria, is still selling fast. It's available in hard copy and soft copy. You can reach out to me on the WhatsApp number showing on your screen to have a copy. It's available on seller and it's available in bookshops in Nigeria. Also, for those of us who are entering into the oil palm farming business newly, or some of us who are already in, and we need a solid business plan that will guide our way, that will let us know how to go about this business in a business-minded manner. You can now order for your business plan, oil palm farming and processing business plan in a customized way. It will help you a lot. It contains ROI 30 years projection, financial projection in terms of ROI, yield projection, establishment procedure. It have agronomic practices. Do you get it? It's jam-packed with agronomic practices, executive summary, SWOT analysis, and anything you can think of a good business plan. With this, I've come to the end of today's episode. See you on the next one. Shishi.